Hi and welcome along to AFTV. I'm joined today by Nick from the Sheff United Way, Sheffield United channel. You guys may recognise him. We spoke last year a couple of times when we played Sheffield United. Unfortunately, Sheffield United got relegated, and commiserations for that, Nick. And I know it hasn't been going too great for you guys at the start of the season. And to make it even worse, we've gone and taken your goalkeeper, Aaron Ramsdale. But the reason why I want to link up with you today is I wanted to find out a bit more about Aaron Ramsdale and what sort of goalkeeper we're getting, because I think when we were first sort of linked with Aaron Ramsdale, there was a lot of fans sort of saying, oh, and what, and not looking on him like he is a quality goalkeeper, because first of all, we were being quoted some ridiculous prices for him, 35, 40 million. Well, we thought that anyway. The deal's been done now for, they reckon it's around about 24 million. It was announced on the Arsenal's website. All the pictures have taken. He's been announced. He's an Arsenal keeper. He did, of course, break into the England squad as well during the Euros, even though he didn't play, but he got into the squad. So I wanted to speak to you, because I always think the best people to speak to are the fans that watch those players week in, week out. I know for a fact there's been players that play for Arsenal who, for other fans, will look and say, hey, he ain't all that. And I'm like, no, sorry, that guy, he's quality, and vice versa. Sometimes when fans are looking on and saying, oh, I love that player, I'm like, well, hold on, you don't watch him every week. He's not as good as you think. So I wanted to get the rundown on Aaron Ramsdale. Of course, I know you guys, you bought him initially, well, only about a year or so ago, isn't it, from Bournemouth for just over 80 million pounds. So it was a big investment.
Yeah, it was. We actually sold him to Bournemouth as well. Some Arsenal fans might not know that he came through the ranks at Sheff United, and we sold him for very little, really, and then obviously bought him back for a hell of a lot when Bournemouth got relegated. But yeah, it was a big investment. We were looking at a few foreign goalkeepers at the same time as well, but it was quite obvious that Chris Wilder knew Ramsdale. Chris Wilder actually sold Ramsdale in his first season as Sheff United manager. I don't think it was because he wanted to sell him. I think it was just because Bournemouth were a Premier League team at that point, and we just got, we're in League One at that point. It was his first season. So obviously you can't turn that down. You can't say, sorry, Aaron Ramsdale, you can't go to a Premier League club at that point. So yeah, he went to Bournemouth. It was kind of a baptism of fire, really. He had a couple of loan spells at Chesterfield, Wimbledon. There might have been another one, actually. But he did really, really well at both clubs. Obviously went to Bournemouth and they got relegated. So, yeah, it was a lot of money at the time. I remember thinking I wouldn't have paid more than kind of 10 million for him at that point, or that was just my opinion anyway. Obviously, I'm not. I've not got that sort of money to buy players anyway myself. But no, he's at the time I wouldn't say I didn't want him, but I wasn't exactly excited about the signing. Obviously, losing Dean Henderson the season before, going back to Man United on after he would come on loan, we needed a goalkeeper that was going to be commanding and was not just a good shot stopper, but the whole package. And that's, for me, what Dean Henderson was. Obviously, he had one or two mistakes in his locker, but he made up for that in so many other different ways. So Ramsdale didn't start his time at Sheff United very well. In the Premier League, obviously, we weren't very good ourselves. We lost a few players to injury. We had early red cards in the season. You name it, it went wrong. And the fact that those players, we lost Egan to a red card early on. We lost Jack O'Connell all season, which are two of our kind of mainstays from the season before, why we didn't concede many goals at all. And I think that probably didn't help Ramsdale, because he's a very confidence-based player. Towards the end of the season, he was pulling every save out of the bag because he was massively confident. Earlier in the season, he was making mistake after mistake after mistake because he lacked that confidence. And I think it probably stemmed from kind of like the back three not being that same back three from the season before. So it was kind of Ampadu one week and then Jack Robinson another week, and then it just constantly changed. So I think it was probably quite difficult to play behind kind of a interchanging sort of back line. But yeah, started the season off really, really poorly. Lots of crosses that kind of it came for and dropped, or should have came for and the other team scored. I remember one at Chelsea last season where the ball, Chilwell came in at the back post. It was literally about 2 yards off his line and he didn't come for the ball. So, not a very good start, we'll say that.
But then you said, he picked it up as the season went by. And, he must have been doing something right because he then broke into the England squad.
Yeah, and I'm going to sound like Roy Keane here. He is a goalkeeper that is extremely good at making saves, but for me, a goalkeeper should be good at making kind of saves because that's their job. For me, the things that I look for in a goalkeeper is a goalkeeper that can come out, catch a ball, or like that decision making whether to come or not if an attacker's bearing down on goal, trying to narrow the angle, little things like that. Like I say, Aaron Ramsdale got into that England squad because at the end of last season, fair enough, we were conceding so many shots compared with the season before. That's why we went down. And Aaron Ramsdale had loads of chances to shine, and he did. He made some incredible saves at the back end of the season, some saves that you wouldn't expect a goalkeeper to make sometimes. And that's definitely what propelled him into kind of Gareth Southgate's reckoning. Obviously, Henderson got injured, Pope was injured as well. So there was other factors for him getting into the England squad, but he did himself wonders with that back end of the season. But at the same time, he did still struggle coming out for those balls, that decision making, whether to punch, whether to catch, whether to stay in his line. So he does struggle with that. And if a goalkeeping coach can work on that, because really you see him in before the game and in training on videos and stuff like that, and he comes for balls, catches them comfortably, no problem. But I think it's the pressure in front of the crowd, trying to go above kind of 6'3", 6'4" centre backs who are trying to beat him in the air from corners and stuff like that. He does struggle with that a little bit, but like I say, his shot stopping is phenomenal. I will give him that.
What's he like on distribution? Because this is a big thing now, seems to be with our manager, that he loves playing out from the back, playing the ball out from the back. So number one, him being good under pressure, because when the team's pressing on him, he's confident to receive the ball and distribute it amongst the back. And then also his long kicking distribution as well. What are those two things like?
It's quite difficult to say because under Chris Wilder, we didn't play out from the back. Maybe we did in early Chris Wilder days, but that was in like League One and the Championship and stuff. We weren't playing out from the back in the Premier League. Certainly not last season, because that's where a lot of, I feel like sometimes if a team's not great at that, that's where a lot of kind of mistakes come from in conceding goals. So we weren't doing that. I will say at the start of this season / pre-season, it did look like Slavisa Jokanovic was trying to get the players to play the ball back to him in tight spots and then quick little triangles and stuff like that. And he did look like he could kind of manage that sort of pressure with a striker bearing down on him and then just taking a touch, pushing it past him and playing it out and stuff like that. So we've not seen too much of him when it comes to kind of like playing out from the back. When I was doing my research when we first signed him about because obviously I didn't watch Bournemouth every week, but I was doing my research on kind of between Henderson and Ramsdale and kind of pros and cons. And in the pros column, it was definitely Ramsdale's distribution, his long kicking, kind of finding like a winger or something like that was a lot higher than Dean Henderson's. But I just think that's because we didn't play that game with Dean Henderson for Sheff United as we didn't with Ramsdale. But I felt last season his kicking was poor. I've got no stats to back that up, but I felt like a lot of the time when he was put under pressure, he was kicking the ball out of play quite a lot. So I wouldn't say his long kicking was great, but I would say that he does look decent in tight areas. When obviously we saw that this season, and really last season he never got caught with the ball at his feet or made a mistake with the ball at his feet. So I would say that he's pretty good with his feet.
What were your fans like when you lost him? Because I mean, Sheffield United were asking a very high price for him. So what were your fans like when, you know, it was started to become inevitable that he was going to be moving on?
Well, first of all, what you just said there about the price, I do feel like we wanted a high price because of his potential, because obviously he's only still really young. I don't feel like he's going to come into his prime still for a while. He had a great end to the season last season, but you need a full good season to be kind of hopefully going into your prime. So he's still very young. He obviously made the England squad. He's full of confidence because of how good he was at the back end of last season. We wish him well. Football fans are all fickle, aren't they? I always think it's just Sheffield United fans, but it's not. It's everyone. And at the start, at the start of last season, like obviously because we couldn't be there, Twitter was a toxic place, especially when Ramsdale was making mistakes, the defense were making mistakes. We were getting 1 and 2 chances a game and we weren't putting them away. So Ramsdale got a lot of that. And the fact that he's on Twitter, which actually a lot of our players aren't, there's probably like 5 or 6 that are on Twitter. Most of them know what's good for him. But Ramsdale's one of them on Twitter. I think at the start, he didn't take it too well. His brother was on Twitter kind of backing him up, having a go at everybody that was giving him grief. But obviously, fans are fickle and they forget straight away of the poor start to the season that he had and remember the great time. So everyone was like, I can't believe we're letting him go. I was kind of more level-headed where it's like, I'd rather us now bring in a goalkeeper that's kind of in his 30s, that's established, been there, done that. I wasn't absolutely gutted, but saying that, we have just been beaten by West Brom 4-0, and 3 of the goals were our goalkeeper's fault. So, yeah, we are going to miss him. We're certainly going to miss him because we've got no other good goalkeepers. So, yeah, we are gutted to lose him. But at the same time, I think in the Championship, if your goalkeeper's one of your best players, I don't think that's the right thing you need, really, because more often than not, if a defender's made a mistake or something, your goalkeeper's got to get you out. And I know it's great to have a good goalkeeper, but at the same time, like, I just think you need a solid goalkeeper in the Championship, and you need players that are going to put the ball in the back of the net. That's what's going to get you promoted. So I think if we can spend that money wisely and bring in some attacking players that are going to get us further up the pitch and score us some goals, then I think this could be a good deal for us.
Okay, well, listen, I'm hoping it's going to be a good deal for us. You've given us a really good insight into Aaron Ramsdale, and I'm looking forward to seeing him play. Funny enough, his first game just might be against West Brom in the League Cup. You know what I mean? Because we got them in the League Cup next week, Wednesday, and I get the feeling he might start in that game. So hopefully he can do a bit better than what the keeper that came in for him did for you guys last week. But you've given us a really good insight, and I want to see you guys back, man. I remember going to your place, that atmosphere there before the lockdown. That was a night when you lot beat us 1-0. Remember that?
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, I bet you remember it.
Yeah, we always remember the wins. Oh, don't worry about that.
Yeah, and I remember the atmosphere there was ridiculous. And, you know, I love that ground as well. It's like an old-fashioned tight ground. It's right in the city centre. I loved it. And I'd love to see Sheffield United come back. So good luck to you guys for the rest of the season. I know you got off to a bad start. We got off to a bad start too. So let's hope we can both bounce back. And thank you very much, Nick, man. Tell everybody once again where they can find you.
We are the Sheff United Way. And yeah, if you want to subscribe, go ahead. You don't have to turn on the bell notification. Just subscribe. And maybe one day we can overtake AFTV.
Do that. Big up, Nick, man. Big up, Nick. Nick, thank you very much, man. I hope to see you soon, man. And thank you very much for that insight.
Cheers, Robert. Thanks for having me.